Oh, what did I do? What did I do? We want to go live. Yes, we're going live. Okay, very good. Happy Friday. Welcome to another installment of Get A Klu in 52 for coaches, myself included. That's right. I set out to write this book of 52 tips for aspiring and emerging coaches. And lo and behold, I was helping myself. It was very therapeutic. It was very, all right. So we're in the silly Friday mood. Let me say hello to Sue. Thank you, as always, for joining. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay,
Good to
good.
be here.
Yeah, I'm not in my normal location. I'm on the road in Arizona right now, so hopefully we have a good enough signal. And I want to get right into it because we're in a brand new section today. And let me just do some opening comments. Okay, welcome to Get A Klu in 52 for coaches, myself included. By now, you should know that this is a tips book, and this is the third one that I've done. Originally, we did the first one in 2019. We read all the tips over the course of the year in 2020, a very, very remarkable year, 2020. And then we did it again in 2021 after I cleaned up all the mistakes that I found in the first version. And then we originally streamed them into Facebook, and then we're streamed them into YouTube because Zoom could only stream into one social media platform. So we adopted StreamYard this year so I could stream into multiple platforms. I see there's a couple people joining online. Thank you guys so much for being here. Want to get right into it. So there's 5 categories. Every time I do a tips book, they're spread across 5 categories. And so without reviewing all of the other stuff, because I got so much to get into today, the 5 categories for this book, this version that we've been reading all year, are as follows. We started the year with 11 tips from section 1, which was self-promotion. We learn how to coach. We get comfortable calling ourselves a coach. We get comfortable after being uncomfortable telling the rest of the world that we're a coach. And then after a while, we realize, wait a second, I'm more than a coach. Coaching is one of the ways that I solve problems. And hopefully we get to that evolution and we develop our full menu and our full acumen for solving the problems that we solve, where coaching becomes one of the ways. But back to just coaching, then we went into 9 tips on engagement and enrollment. So the whole idea here is permission to lead. If I'm building a coaching practice, I want to get people to enroll in my coaching programs. But if I'm a leader inside of an organization or an institution, I want engagement. I want my committee members engaged. I want my direct reports engaged, my employees engaged. I want the team engaged, right? So enrollment or engagement, there's ways to secure, increase, to optimize engagement. And once we've done that, then it's like leadership is a hot knife through warm butter. Once people are engaged, excited, self-motivated in terms of what they're doing, energized, if you will, by what the opportunities are. But I use that word motivation because once we have engagement, once we have enrollment, then it's just motivation plus accountability equals results. So we had 10 tips for motivation, and they broke down into external motivation of strategies, tactics, and resources for health, relationships, finance, usual suspect strategies that people want results in their life or their business, their career. And then, of course, the checkup from the neck up, the behavioral intervention stuff, the mindset stuff, the transformational work of motivation. And of course, then the only thing left to do is count. Once people are engaged or enrolled, and once we've created the proper motivation that matches behavioral style, etc., then it's just a matter of counting. And so the integrity game was born in the land of accountability. It was really fun to go over the integrity game 10-point model last week as the final tip in the accountability section. And it brings us really to this section that we're all about today. So I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this all year long. And we're about to start 12 tips from the final section of the book. So this is it. We're going to ride out the string. This is the last section. We're going to ride all the way to the end of the year, from now until the last week of December. These 12 tips are all about practice building. So not only do I have tip number 41 for all of us today, but I want to go ahead and read the introduction to this section on practice building. And if you're following along at home, you can see I've got a little stick figure organizational chart at the top of every tip in this section, as well as the opening notes. Now, before I start getting into reading some word for word, Sue, thank you for joining as always. Do you have any opening comments, questions, remarks, comments, haikus, limericks, anything like that before we get started with today's content? I'm super excited, and I've got my coffee. I'm wired because it's going to be a jovial experience. I promised this from the beginning of the year. I'm promising to be jovial. But do you have anything to say or ask before we get started today?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to share. And
I remember writing this it was like a year ago at this time I was writing all of this, and I remember doing my hibernation retreats where, you know, shout out to Brian Trachel if you're watching somewhere out there. Brian Trachel, one of my best friends on the planet, and he's forgotten more about personal professional growth than most people have ever learned, and he's a LinkedIn master and will help you optimize everything under the sun when it comes to LinkedIn. And he's got a house in Vegas, and he's given me the key. And so when he's, you know, I've got full access. And so sometimes if he's visiting family on the East Coast, or if he's visiting the love of his life, Angie, oh my God, she's amazing, in Costa Rica, then he's always grateful, or if I can make the time to come in house sit for him. But I'm always grateful because then I get to get away from kids and dogs and other distractions and just hibernate and get the writing done. And so I just really appreciate Brian Trachel. Thank you so much. And I remember when I was writing this in Brian Trachel's house last year, that this musical rhythm came into my mind, and it's just stuck with me. I just can't wait to get to it. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, here we go. If you're following along at home, Get a Klu in 52 for Coaches. This is the fifth and last section of the book. We're sprinting to the finish line of the year. I'm getting proud of the 40 tips that we've covered so far across the 4 sections. And here we go. Time to sprint to the finish line. So page 163, if you're following at home, here we go. Practice or business building. In tip number 28, I made the briefest mention of Org Chart 101 among a handful of other productivity hacks that we might use when coaching solopreneurs, micro or small business owners, or emerging entrepreneurs. Among the reasons to have clients explain their business through the lens of the org chart are the 12 places to look if the business is hurting or failing to grow. The 12 accountabilities that must be met for the business to grow and thrive. The 12 basics of practice building that I promised, when broken down further, would make up the entire section of tips that you are about to read. And you're about to read them because this is available on Amazon.com. All right, I digress. I often refer to this content as the Klubeck 12-step program to be silly, attention-gaining, or playful, because the truth of being a coach is that learning how to coach is completely different than learning how to grow a coaching business. The how to grow a coaching business subject is a very serious subject, and the challenges of winning the game of enrollment we covered earlier can only be overcome if there are leads and prospects. Yeah, marketing. We gave an entire section in this book to self-promotion, but only scratched the surface of all there is to learn about marketing. We gave an entire section of this book to winning the game of enrollment, but only scratched the surface of all there is to know about sales. We gave an entire section of this book to delivering motivational coaching, and another to delivering accountability coaching, and have not even begun to scratch the surface of all there is to know about customer service. And in the section that follows, we will only scratch the surface of all there is to know about building or running a coaching business. In fact, the intention here is so humble. I'm sorry, let me start again. In fact, the intention here is so humble that I chose to call it practice building instead of business building. In my mind, a business is more mature than a practice. For me, I have a business if I have employees, and I have a practice if I'm a solopreneur. We start out by learning how to coach, and that gives us a revenue-generating hobby if we can generate revenue at it. We quickly learn that being able to generate some revenue, getting a client or two, is not the same thing as turning a profit from the business perspective, or even a paycheck from the employee or coach perspective. I kind of want to read that again, but I hope that comes through. Getting a client or two is not the same thing as being profitable as a business, and getting a client or two is not the same thing as getting a paycheck as an employee in our own business. I think you know where I'm going with all of this. Let me continue. For many years, all my revenue stayed in the business, and I never set up payroll to pay myself anything. I lived in the business, which was really a healthy practice at best, and let's face it, a revenue-generating hobby at worst. Not even when I had grown it to over $250,000 in annual revenue did I ever consider myself to have a coaching business. But I can say I successfully built a thriving coaching practice. The next 12 tips are the 12 places to look if your hobby is not yet a practice, or not yet a business, or is a business ready to level up. These are the 12 accountabilities that must be met versus ignored, and met strategically, competitively, efficiently, and constantly for practice building and business growth. Woo! I got to tell you, that's not the silly part. That was pretty heavy and pretty straightforward, but now we got to get into it. Tip number 1. I'm sorry, tip number 1 of the section, tip number 41 of the book overall is paying the fee of feasibility. So let me again take a deep breath before I get into the word for word here. Sue, any comments or questions so far based on the introduction to the session? I see somebody's out there watching online. I see an eyeball icon there. If anybody has any comments, so go ahead and type them in and we'll see if they come through on the StreamYard side. And it's really easy to join us live if you want to get into this conversation. Let me post it. Just go to tinyurl.com/TIG. I'm sorry, no, GAK. No, it's Get A Klu tip 41. That's right. I got to remember my renaming conventions. So there it is. And maybe I'll copy that and make it a banner if anybody wants to join in and get into the conversation. Come on and join us. And that got posted on the Watch Get A Klu YouTube channel, but I'm streaming it here as well. Sue, anything from you before I get into the word for word of this first tip in the section?
I really like the setting the scene that in that opening to the section that you've just gone through, because it is a reality check that we want to think we might have a really thriving practice, but what's the reality? Where are we at?
Yeah, I want to keep it real. And I'm going to give a loving shout out to Tom Teague, who's the president of the Professional Coaches Alliance, and let everybody know that he says, build a business. And we had playful arguments, and we weren't arguing or combating each other, right? And there's a shout out, props. Because the mission of the Professional Coaches Alliance is to help coaches that know how to coach already, like build their practice and continuing education and network and collaborate. So it's easy to fall into these terms and say, build a business. And here I am, Mr. Accountability, Mr. Integrity, saying, hang on a second. I don't even call mine a business. And, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been coaching for a long time. And I've had some successes, and I've been around the world, and I've built it to multiple 6 figures several years in a row. I've even gone down to the ashes and reemerged after COVID back to 6 figures, right? Like, I've done all of that, and I still don't call it a business. So we have this playful argument, and he's like, well, business is what people, I know. We go back and forth. But I'm really, really advocating, no, for me, reality check. I won't even call my coaching business a business. I call it a practice at best, because of the realities that I'm about to share over the next 12 weeks starting today. So thank you for that, Sue. Anything else before we get into the word for word of it? No? All right, cool. Let me go back to my banners. And here we are. We're in 12 tips from practice building. Let me create this tip number 41 overall. Number 4, I'll just do tip number 41. Pay the fee of feasibility. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and activate this, and let me go ahead and start reading word for word. Drum roll, please. Remember, there's a little stick figure org chart at the top, so you can follow along and see of the 12 steps, which one are we covering and where does it look? If you're a visual person, get the book. Play along with us. Here we go. The very first accountability in any business is deciding if the business is worth it. Worth what, you ask? Worth the time, money, effort, fits, starts, setbacks, failures, roadblocks, speed bumps, competitors, criticisms, liabilities, pressures, unknowns, and the resulting emotions like stressed, obsessed, worried, overwhelmed, insecure, frustrated, impatient, dread, powerless, and jealous envy. Is it worth all that to run a coaching business, to build and run a coaching business? That question is as simple to understand as it is difficult to answer. So most coaches go into building their coaching business without answering the question: is the juice worth the squeeze? The challenge for this box on the org chart is leaping from believing the business is worth it to knowing it is, without making the effort in the middle to verify that. Without making the effort in the, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, to knowing it is without making the effort in the middle to verify that it is. That is the pay the title of this tip is referring to. That is the pay the title of this tip is referring to. The hard, soul-searching work that must be done to really know what kind of life you really want and if a coaching business can give you that life. Feasibility describes how easy it is to accomplish something. So the question we must ask and answer straight away is, what do you want your coaching business to accomplish? Why does the coaching business exist? To use the integrity game model, what is the purpose of the coaching business? Without declaring the purpose of the coaching business, we must assume it will be impossible to accomplish what has not been defined. Yet people proceed anyway and struggle predictably. Slightly different from tip number 5 when I asked you to be super honest about why you want to be a coach. Here I am asking it if it is worth it to build, run, grow a coaching business. As mentioned in tip 5, people get into trouble when their answers to these initial questions of why are too autobiographical, vague, or simply not practical enough to really answer the key question, is it worth it? Do any of the following statements really answer the question, why are you building a coaching business? Here we go. And yeah, ready, Sue? Here's the voice. I just felt like it was time to do something else. I'm too overqualified for any decent jobs out there. I just don't want to work for another boss I don't respect. I've always wanted to have my own business. I'm really passionate about insert hobby here, right? How about this one? People have always told me I'm really good at insert talent ability here. And Old Faithful, I really want to help people. Now I'm going to go back and reread. Do any of the following statements really answer the question, why are you building a coaching business? And I'll read them again. I just felt like it was time to do something else. So that's why it's worth it. Is that why the juice is worth the squeeze? I'm too overqualified for any other decent jobs out there. Oh, is that why? I don't want to work for another boss I don't respect. I've always wanted to own my own business. I'm really passionate about blank. People have always told me I'm really good at blank. And Old Faithful, I really want to help people. Right? I kind of joke around. All of those things are true and noble, but guess what? They don't answer the question, is it worth it to run a practice? I'm going to repeat it. Is it worth it? Ready? The time, the money, the effort, the fits, the starts, the setbacks, the failures, the roadblocks, speed bumps, competitors, criticisms, liabilities, pressures, unknowns, and the resulting emotions like stressed, obsessed, worried, overwhelmed, insecure, frustrated, impatient, dread, powerless, and jealous or envious of others that seem to be having more success than you are, even though we all know they're dumber than we are. Oh, God, is that frustrating? Is it worth it? Because people told you were good at something because you really want to help people? Is that worth it? All of that? I continue. The first hard work you must put into your business is paying the fee of feasibility. Describe the life you want, including how you spend your time, who you get to hang out with, where you get to go, what you get to eat, where, drive, see, what you get to have, what you get to give, the memories you want to create, and all the ways that you want to be remembered. Bonus if you imagine how much money you will need to afford that life. Got it? Now, can the coaching business you are building give you that life? I'm trying not to be, I'm not trying to be a downer or a pessimist. I'm trying to be such a realist that I don't even describe my own business as a coaching business. I call it a coaching practice because, as we are about to see in the next 11 tips, building a business is extremely challenging and complex, especially if you are building it all by yourself. Parentheses, it will be your initials in every box on the chart. One down. Is it worth it? Okay, 11 to go. All right, so we're not into the musical rhythm yet with which I wrote the rest of the following 11 tips, but boy, are we off to a good start. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? All of the material concerns, all of the emotional concerns, and all of the natural stresses and pressures, especially if we're doing it all of ourselves. Do you know what life you want? Do you know how much money it will take to get you that life? Do you know how a coaching business is going to get you that much money, etc.? So are we painting ourselves into a corner of an 18-hour-a-day job where we're putting all of our effort into some things and ignoring other aspects of our org chart? Or we're going to unfold or uncover or unwrap or unravel all of it in the next 11 weeks heading up to the end of the year. But boy, are we off to a good start today. Pay the fee of feasibility. It's like the pay of paying attention is the hard work, and the fee of feasibility. Is this worth it? Is it workable? Will this work? Will this give you the life you want? How do you want to spend your time, your talent, your resources? What do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be going? Who do you want to be hanging out with? Can this business give you that? I've lucked out, and it hasn't always been easy. I'm sitting here right now pretty pleased with the life that I've created, but I'm 17, 18 years into this thing, and I've still got a long way to go, and I still struggle with very real things every single day in my business. That's why I say Get A Klu in 52 for coaches. After I wrote the next 11 tips, I went myself included, because I realized, like, hey, I'm still struggling with all 12 of these things that I'm about to share with you. So I'm not sharing any of this because I'm the expert, the guru, that I've mastered it, that I don't have to think about it anymore. No, I'm sharing all of this with you because I'm still working on these things myself, and I want you to work on it with me. I want to work on it with you. I'm transparent and vulnerable, and I'm here every Friday to let you know that this is a real struggle. This is a real game we're playing, and having as much fun as I can, but I want to make sure that we're super clear about the realities involved, and I'm here to help in any way that I can. So having said all of that, how do we do, Sue? What do you think about tip number 41 here? Pay the fee.
Yeah,
Feasibility.
really good opening. And 6 years ago or so, that was me. I was the person going, I've always wanted to have my own business. I don't want to work for another boss I don't respect. And setting out, I wasn't prepared and struggled. I had to pull back, do a reset. But I guess second time round, have a very different lens through which to approach how I do what I do. And this is incredibly helpful. Certainly for me, it helps to remind me about what are the steps that I need to be checking off. And I think it helps people out there too to realize that it's more than just going, hey, I'm a coach, I can do this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we want to, here's the thing. To tie it all together, man, if remember the opening, all those, it seems like so long ago, right? In the beginning of the year, all of those tips about self-promotion. I kept on hammering, we're more than just a coach. We're more than just a coach. Right? It is the same thing, right? If people get tunnel vision, think I'm gonna be a coach and I'm gonna build a coaching business, and we're gonna get into it. Like, are you kidding? If coaching is the only thing on your menu, you're gonna have a hard time building a business. You're gonna have struggle building a practice.
Yeah.
If you can't supplement and find other ways to solve problems. So why are you a coach? What else does that tether to? What other professional equity are you bringing to coaching? And now what kind of problem solver are you where coaching is one of your options? So what are you really building? Is it a coaching practice, or is it a soft skill practice, or is it a leadership practice, or is it a training practice, or are you a consulting firm, or are you what is it? But to stay pigeonholed on this coaching thing, it has plenty of challenges built into it, and but plenty of opportunities to springboard from it. Because the thing that the ties that bind, the differences, there's subtle differences. We've talked about this when you talk about building a menu, right?
Yeah.
Coaching is where we talk and then you go do the work. Consulting is where we talk and now I'm going to do the work and create a deliverable for your company that you can't create on your own, right? Training is where we talk and then you learn how to do something you couldn't do before. Right? Speaking is where we talk if you raise your hand during my keynote, right? Whatever the case. So when you talk about info products or speaking, or coaching, consulting, training, or even mentoring is different than coaching, because in mentoring, if somebody wants mentoring from me, that means they want to be able to learn how to do exactly what I do. If they want coaching from me, they want me to support them to go do what they want to do. And I don't have to know how to do what they want to do in order to coach them, as long as I know engagement, motivation, and accountability, right? But in mentoring, I got to let them shadow. I got to peel back the curtain and show them stuff. So what's the tie that binds all of that? There's two things. Number one, conversation, and number two, content. Content and conversation are the ties that bind everything that we can offer on our menu if we're in personal professional growth or development or leadership or whatever you want to call it. So it's just, it's a fascinating conversation to understand how I gotta stay fun with it, right? I gotta stay fun with it. Like, how are you kidding me? You're building a coaching business. Are you? Tell me about that. Oh yeah, you're building a coaching business? Tell me about your business. How many employees do you have? You're building a business, right? You have employees? No. Oh, well, all right. You're building a business. What was the profits to your business last? People don't want to talk about their numbers. Are you paying yourself? Do you get a paycheck in your business? Like, are you an employee in your own business? Do you pay yourself anything? Right? We're going to go on the next 11 accountabilities. You can see all these questions. The 11, but we got number one down. There's 12 total. Number one, is it worth it? And then if it's worth it, now we got 11 more that we got to figure out. Right. And so don't rush to any conclusions here. What else do you got, Sue, in terms of comments, questions, feedback on what we've talked about so far?
No, I love, I'm looking forward to the rest of the tips. And I think what they do is maybe help to having them up front when you're considering your coaching practice makes it a lot easier, because you can structure your how you approach things far more well, you can be a lot more constructive in your thinking and how you approach, and saves a lot of that angst. So yeah.
Yeah, it's neat for me because this kind of comes full circle a little bit. You follow? Because the idea is the first 11 tips were about self-promotion. And so all of these Klubi snacks come out that become so super relevant now that we're full circle. For example, we're always more than a coach, or remember this one. We all want meaningful work with a monetized skill set that allows us to be ourselves and call our own shots. But is that the right reason to run a business? Is that, I don't know, right? And the truth is, we become a coach not because I'm good at this, not because I want to help people, or not because, right? We become a coach because we want to make money, either in addition to how we've already made money or in place of how we're currently making money, right? And if we're never honest about the profitability, the money-making endeavor, we're going to have a hard time building a business because we're not honest. So we're out of integrity. We're building a mansion on top of quicksand if we don't say, I'm building a coaching practice so I can pay myself a bunch of money so I can have the life I want. And I deserve that money because the help I'm giving people is so freaking valuable that they're going to tell me I'm not charging enough when they thank me up and down for the way that I'm changing their lives. And if we don't get super clear, like, because the business, right? Jeff Klubeck, I have needs, but guess what? Business. First name Biz, last name Ness. The business has needs also. And we've talked about the first of the 12 needs. It needs to be worth it. And then what else does it need? It needs to run. And then it needs to marketing, sales, operations, finance. And we're going to get into it and we're going to have a good time doing it. But these Klubi snacks become really important to remind ourselves of. We all want meaningful work with a monetized skill set. And the truth is, every other answer to any other question depends on our honest answers to questions of purpose. Why does the business exist? Why are you running a practice? Why are you braving the elements? And it's, right? Like, why are you climbing the tree? There's thorns. Why are you climbing the tree? There's spiders. Why are you climbing the tree? There could be a snake up there. Why are you climbing the tree? You could hit your head. You could fall out. You could paralyze yourself. You could get a cut. That's great. A bruise. You could get, are you ready? Ready? Oh, this is so fun. The time, the money, the fits, the starts, the setbacks, the failures, the roadblocks, the speed bumps, the competitors, the criticisms, the liabilities, the pressures, the unknowns. And the resulting emotions. And it's funny, as I read this, it's like, Jeff, you don't have to be a coach to experience problems with any of that. I know. But trust me when I tell you, every coach that's setting out to build a coaching business is going to experience all of that and then some. So is it worth it? What's our purpose? Are we tethered to our purpose? Are we passionate enough about a purpose? Are we clear on it? We have to get clear that the life that we want, the things we want to do, the people we want to hang out with, the places we want to focus our time, talent, energy, the emotions we want to feel every day, the measurable results that we want to produce for ourselves and others can come from this business. And I haven't even been so confident in my own realm that I can do that I don't want to call it a business, call it a practice.
Yeah.
To kind of take the pressure off myself a little bit. Isn't that interesting? Is it right? So what else? What else can we say?
It does. And I think when you, like you're saying, when you're really clear on your purpose of why you want the practice, it helps you to weather that storm when it comes. It gives you that, you don't just bob around.
Structural integrity.
Absolutely.
To withstand these pressure tests. If you don't have strong enough why, you're going to get blown over, or blown around like a feather in the wind or a tree without roots.
Yeah. And certainly that was my experience when I first started. Was I had no idea. No idea. And
Well, let me get a couple of
apologize.
things going in here, right? I can continue the conversation, give you a minute to
Yep.
capture some more thoughts if you have any comments or questions that come up. Anybody can schedule 2 complimentary coaching sessions with me or a coach that I've trained or a licensed. We're doing licensed integrity game certified coaches, speakers, trainers. We're building all of this. It's very beta, but it works. We're flying our airplane at 30,000 feet and delivering good things for people as we're still figuring out and developing our internal structures. But if you want 2 complimentary sessions, if you have not already had them already, you can go ahead and schedule there. And if you put any notes or details about why you're looking for 2 comp sessions, I can say, ooh, I'm the best coach for that. Or maybe Sue's a great coach for that, or somebody else that I've trained and worked with and mentored over the years will match the best coach possible for what you're looking for. But anybody that has not had them gets 2 complimentary coaching sessions, and that's available. And this is how you would go about scheduling. I also mentioned the Professional Coaches Alliance. I'm vice president of communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance, and I want you guys to know that there's a lot of amazing archives of content of all of the coaches and speakers and business builders that have contributed programming over the years. An amazing dedicated group of professionals that are on the board, and great people among the membership. And it's very low cost, really. If you're going to invest in yourself and put yourself into a community where you can learn with and from others and collaborate and get access to content, and it's safe and it's harmless and it's collaborative and it's positive and it's upbeat, then check out the Professional Coaches Alliance and see what's going on there and see if a membership isn't the perfect thing for you. And if you have any program that you think is really going to be, gobbled up by the community, then make sure you contact my friend and yours, Margot Garcia, Vice President of Programs for the Professional Coaches Alliance. She's made some guest appearances here on Get A Klu in 52 at various times throughout the year. And I just love Margot. She's just an angel in a sense. Like, she's got a very calm and sensible disposition when I'm like wacky and hyper and animated. Like she's always a grounding a grounding source for me. So I have a lot of respect for Margot. And I don't know if I've got any. I mean, I've got all these other things that I could promote. I do all-star interviews every week this fall on Wednesdays. So if you're interested in me doing an interview with a subject matter expert that can help me bring out all of the depth of a particular topic around the integrity game model, it's relevant to say that this week because last week, tip number 40 in the book was a review, a summary of the 10-point integrity game model. It was the last tip in accountability. And what the integrity game tries to do is make accountability non-threatening. And what we're doing right now is we're talking about the 12 dominant accountabilities in any major business or any minor business or any solopreneurial practice, right? So the idea is this: the integrity game is a different book, different brand, but it's all the same stuff. It's personal, professional growth. It's engagement, motivation, accountability. I'm just putting it into a 10-point model, and I'm in the middle of what is now an annual series of interviews that I'm doing with subject matter experts that can provide more than I'm able to provide along these 10 points. So we did strategies week last week, and next week is going to be word and commitment. So if you're struggling with your relationship with your word, how to manage expectations that you set for self and others, how do you set boundaries, how to follow through on the consequences if people violate those boundaries, the power of language in addition to your relationship with your word, then join us next week and go ahead and register at tinyurl.com/TIG All-Stars. But having said that, we're in it. We are in the last section of the book, the 5th section of Get A Klu in 52. Tip number 1 is done. We're we're off and running, so to speak. Let me switch here and get my light going. And it's time to go ahead and ask for last call for comments and questions and jokes or haikus or limericks, or I think I've added riddles. Have I added riddles to the corpus of commentary that I'll accept here at the end of our sessions here in last call. And of course, if anything, Sue, you've got what was valuable or most valuable for you about the session, or do you have any comments, questions, or anything else to contribute?
I'm sorry, I keep thinking I must bring a limerick or a riddle, and I haven't got one, but I will. You're setting the challenge there for me. No, look, really, just a really good opening reminder, I think, of what to take into account when you're looking at starting out in a practice.
Yeah, we're just getting started, but that's a big one. Pay the fee of feasibility. A shout out to a colleague of mine, a client of mine. He's a good friend, somebody I admire in the community. I'm fortunate enough to be able to provide services for his multiple businesses and charity, Vipul dial. The fee of feasibility actually was a tip that we repurposed from the version of Get A Klu in 52 that he and I did, the entrepreneurial edition. He set out, he used to have a brand hotel where he plugged into a major brand and just, like franchise style, right? And then he wanted to convert his hotel from brand to boutique. And so the first thing that he did was a feasibility study. He's like, I know I want to do this. I know I want to get away from the restrictions and the shackles and the limitations of being with a brand. And I want the freedom and the creativity, but is it feasible? And so, smart businessman that he is, he actually invested in a service that could provide a feasibility study where you're checking out what's the marketplace, what are the conditions, what are the demographics and psychographics in the area, who are all the competitors, how many brand hotels are there within a 10-mile radius, how many boutique hotels are there within a 10-mile radius. I don't even know all of it, right? But these are really important questions to be able to decide. You can't just say, look, I want boutique instead of brand, so I'm going. That may not be enough to be worth it, right? It's a good idea to perform the feasibility study. So Vipul has a great anecdote and a real life case study about the value and the importance and the success of being able to invest first in the why of it all. And is it worth it of it all? And then once you know it's worth it, then you have so much more resilience for all of the other challenges that come up the rest of the way. Excellent. What else? Anything else for today before we wrap up today's tip? Tip number it's number 41 overall. Go ahead, Sue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, nothing more from me.
All right. Wonderful. Well, I feel really good. It was fun to read today's tip. I'm excited about all of this. And it's funny, too, because as much fun as we're going to have and as rhythmic as we're going to be, and as much like musical accompaniment that you're going to hear me reading these tips through in the next coming weeks, the truth is it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to build a business. So hard that I haven't even allowed myself to call it a business yet after 17 years at this game. So that's the truth. We're going to make it fun. We're going to make it non-threatening. We're going to keep it jovial. We're going to keep it animated. And we love all of you out there that are getting any value from this at all. And thank you, as always, Sue, for being here live with me to make it, real-time dynamic, real-life animation. You always bring out so much of the best of me. So thank you for being here always.
My pleasure.
All right. That wraps up tip number 41 overall, number 1 from the practice building section of Get A Klu in 52. It was all about paying the fee of feasibility. I'm Jeff Kluback, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week for tip number 42, which is by title, I'll tell you.
Run it.
Run it. There you go. Thank you, Sue. Run. If it's worth running, if the business is worth running, run it. All right, we're going to elaborate on that next week. Have a great week and a great weekend, everybody. I love you all. Oh, and by the way, I should take a little bit more advantage of whatever platform this is. If one person's out there watching, please, whatever you do, take a moment whenever you get to send some thoughts, some prayers, some well wishes, some zen to everybody around the world that deserves compassion, that deserves respect, that deserves a human approach to our humanity. There's so much crap going on in the world right now. Obviously, my heart is heavy with what's happening in the Middle East and Ukraine, but it's not just the Middle East and Ukraine. It's the coffee table. It's the airport. It's the playground. It's the public transportation. It's social media. It's not hard to be nice to people. It's not hard to be a human being. So thoughts and prayers to everybody around the world that deserves the thoughts and prayers of the world. And thank you for letting me say that before we wrap up. I'm
so
grateful,
true. So true.
Grateful every day of my life for the blessings, and my heart is heavy right now for the things going on in the world that I can't prevent. But I got to do my part real quick and say love is the answer to everything. And we have to stand firm and we have to stand strong in our foundation of love to ward off some evils that obviously exist in this world. So I love you, Sue. And I hope that love that we're sharing on these sessions every week permeates the world one session at a time, one click at a time, whatever we're doing. It feels so helpless at times, but we can never give into that. We have to take advantage of every opportunity we have to promote love and kindness and respect and all of the good things in the world. So thank you for letting me say that real quick before we dismiss. I love you all, and we'll see you guys next week. Be safe.
Love you,
be
and
kind.
thoughts
Yeah.
are with you too.
Be safe,
Yeah.
kind, and loving. All right, we'll see you. Thank you, Sue.